Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Christian Esguera and welcome po sa ating Facts First episode ngayong gabi, May 26, 2025. This is a recorded interview pero we're just recording this a few hours before the actual airing. So by the time na napapanood nyo po ito, so it's already 8:30 p.m. pero we are recording this episode at exactly 5:42 in the afternoon or early evening ngayong araw po. Ano ba pag-uusapan natin? Siguro nabalitaan nyo over the past few days itong decision po ng COMELEC para i-suspend po yung proclamation nitong isa sa mga nanalong party list organizations dito po sa pinakahuling election po natin. Ang tinutukoy ko po itong Duterte Youth. Meron po kasing pending na petition laban sa kanila dyan sa COMELEC at meron isang grupo na pinahinto yung kanilang proclamation at ito naman po ay ginawa ng COMELEC. Ihimayin po natin ano ba yung punot dulo nitong petition against Duterte Youth na pumangalawa dito po sa party list election at nakakuha po ng 3 seats. At bakit medyo matagal yata yung decision-making process ng COMELEC. And of course, nakita natin talaga nagpupuyo sa galit itong si Ronald Cardema. Okay? Makakasama po natin ngayong gabi ay ang abogado po ng mga petitioners. I'd like to welcome again to our program si Attorney Emil Maranyon III. Magandang gabi, Attorney, and thank you for joining us tonight dito po sa Facts First.
Magandang gabi po and good to be back.
Okay. Sige, explain muna natin how you got involved into this petition. Sino yung re-represent mo rito, Attorney Emil?
Unang-una, this is not the first case na hinawakan ko against Duterte Youth. So actually, this started June of 2019 nung pumutok yung balita nga na si Ronald Cardema yung naging first nominee ng Duterte Youth. So at that time, naging issue yung edad niya because when he was nominated as the first nominee of Duterte Youth, in fact, last minute po yun, that was a day before the 2019 elections, last minute po, nabigla yung tao na yung naging nominee ng Duterte Youth is actually not a member of the youth sector na because at the time, 34 years old na siya. Because under the law, which is the Youth in Nation Building Act and under the SK Reform Act, ang definition ng youth po is between 15 to 30 years old. So at that time, Ronald Cardema is already outside of that age bracket, 4 years beyond the maximum age. So we filed actually a cancellation case against Cardema para hindi po siya maupo na nominee ng Duterte Youth. So in fact, yung pumirma po doon is hindi lang ako, but the 2 pillars of election law practice, so si Chairman Sixto Brillantes, who was already retired at the time, at saka si Attorney Romulo Macalintal, who is another famous election lawyer. So, nag-co-sign kaming tatlo doon to assail the qualifications actually of Ronald Cardema. We won that case sa division and later on, we won also that case sa NBAC. That's why hindi po naupo si Ronald Cardema at the time. But in the course of the preparation ng kaso na yon, we were able to access the registration documents of Duterte Youth. And when we checked the papers, we were surprised na actually hindi po siya registered under COMELEC. In fact, they were not able to even reach the publication stage. And that's why we were surprised sa bakit po nasama ng 2019 elections yung Duterte Youth kung hindi naman pala siya registered na party list. So at that time, September na yon, we filed another case, which is the petition to declare as null and void yung registration ng Duterte Youth and or to cancel the same. So alternative po yung causes of action namin. Kasi sabi namin, una, i-declare nyo na null and void dyan because hindi nga siya registered under the rules ng COMELEC. And yung second po is sabi namin, if in case, assuming nga na mali kami doon sa unang argument namin, nonetheless, you should cancel Duterte Youth on the ground po that he committed untruthful statements in their petition. Because remember, may ruling na at that time yung COMELEC saying na nagsinungaling si Cardema as regards yung yung qualification niya to become the first nominee of Duterte Youth. So yun po yung kaso namin way back September 2019 and until now po, yun po yung pinaglalaban namin 5 years after, hindi po na-resolve ng COMELEC. And we are very happy that for the first time, after 5 years, under the leadership of Chairman George Garcia, na gumalaw na po yung kaso at last.
Basically, 2 points yung yung ni-raise nyo rito. Doon muna sa doon sa hindi siya registered. What exactly do you mean? ano yung pagkukulang doon sa registration process?
Okay. Ang number one, hindi po lahat ng organization pwede sumali sa party list election. You have to go through the registration process, which is defined by RA 7941 or the Party List System Act and as detailed in the COMELEC Resolution 9366. So ano po yung proseso nakasulat? Ano pong pwedeng, anong requirement, anong dapat pagdaanan? Okay? So ang proseso po dyan is magpa-file ka ng petition which should include all the requirements na nakaset sa batas, diba? Including your track record, proof of membership, proof of consent, among others. Okay? So the moment na pumasa ka doon sa initial evaluation, parang checklist yan eh, i-check ng COMELEC, kumpleto ba yung attachments mo? Pag pumasa ka doon, then you go through the process of publication. So yung process of publication is very important because eto po yung pagkakataon na ina-announce ng COMELEC. Sasabihin niya, oy, Pilipinas, merong nag-a-apply dito na party list, na maging party list group, ang pangalan niya ay Duterte Youth. Lahat ng may reklamo, pumunta kayo sa ganitong araw at ganitong oras, i-file niyo yung opposition niyo doon. So this would serve as a notice to the whole country na merong applicant, and kung meron kayong reklamo, then eto na yung pagkakataon nyo. Okay? So this publication requirement is very important because the nature of party list registration is what we call in rem. Ibig sabihin po, this pertains to the status of the organization, okay, as a party list organization. That is why, if in rem proceeding po siya, it is the act of publication which gives COMELEC the jurisdiction over the case. In other words, kung hindi po mag-acquire ng jurisdiction ang COMELEC over this case, then it cannot grant the registration process. Okay? Okay,
so sorry, hindi nangyari yung publication.
Hindi, well, ang history nito is that nung pagpasa pa lang ng Duterte Youth, pagpasa niya pa lang ng petition niya, it was severely lacking. Ibig sabihin, kulang halos lahat ng requirements. Ang nipis-nipis po, few pages lang yung petition nila, which usually dapat, ano yan, ang kapal niyan, usually at least a foot, di ba? Yung sa mga attachments mo. Nagpasa sila few pages. That's why it was dismissed outrightly by the COMELEC. Summary dismissal po yun. Okay?
Sorry. Summary dismissal lang
ng petition nila. So pag file pa lang, dinismiss agad ng COMELEC kasi nga kulang. Okay? So hindi po siya pumasa doon sa initial evaluation ng COMELEC. Okay? So ang ginawa ngayon ng Duterte Youth, following the rules of the COMELEC, is they filed a motion for reconsideration. Okay? Sa COMELEC kasi, the moment you file a motion for reconsideration, it is usually elevated to the COMELEC NBank, and then it is the NBank that decides the motion for reconsideration. Okay? So ang nangyari dito is that the NBank at that time reversed the division. Okay? Ni-reverse siya yung ruling. But what's interesting with that reversal is that the COMELEC NBank only stated na nire-reverse niya yung division. Hindi niya dinefine ano ang susunod na gagawin after the reversal. Okay? So, ang interpretation ng Duterte Youth dito is that when it was reversed, that was tantamount to the grant of the registration. Okay? But the correct process, as in fact, what was done by the subsequent members of the COMELEC, is pag magkaroon ng reversal, dapat nire-remand yan, pinabalik doon sa division, for the continuation of the proceeding. So dapat binalik sa division, nagkaroon ng publication, nagkaroon ng public hearing, at nagkaroon ng decision. So dapat that should have been the correct action of the COMELEC.
Isang question. Yung bang problema na yan sa registration, curable ba yan kung niremand sa division tapos inayos ng Duterte Youth yung proseso?
Well, technically, hindi siya curable. It's really, at that time, nung ni-reverse ng NBank yung decision ng division, technically wala pa siyang jurisdiction eh. Because ang rule kasi, pag walang jurisdiction, you can only dismiss but you cannot grant. Okay? So in other words, the correct way is for the COMELEC to have it published first sa level ng division and dapat pinapublish niya. Okay? Para po magkaroon siya ng jurisdiction. Ibig sabihin magkaroon siya ng authority to grant the petition. But it was not done, okay? So hindi po tayo nagkaroon ng publication. So our main argument in this case is because walang publication, therefore walang jurisdiction ng COMELEC, and therefore kung walang jurisdiction ng COMELEC, walang registration yung Duterte Youth. Okay? So
Okay.
because po ang requirement of publication is explicitly stated under RA 7941, nakalagay po doon na dapat mag-register. And we also argue that under the 1987 Constitution, a political party can only be registered only after sufficient publication. So in this case po, it was not satisfied, and therefore it is not only against the rules of the COMELEC, it is also against the law, it is also against the Constitution, and therefore po walang kalaban-laban yung Duterte Youth sa kaso namin na ito.
Okay, hindi ba pwedeng gamitin ang argument na dalawang beses na silang naupo, dalawang beses nakatakbo, tapos itong pangatlong pagkapanalo nila, is tinatawag na the voice of the people, hindi ba pwedeng gamiting argument yun to supersede yung mga requirements by the law and by the COMELEC rules?
Well, unang-una po, dahil jurisdictional ang pinag-uusapan natin dito na nakakulangan, no, on the part of the Duterte Youth. Pag jurisdiction kasi yung pinag-uusapan, our jurisprudence is very clear na there's no waiver, there's no prescription, there is no estupel. Kahit po anytime, anywhere you can raise the issue of jurisdiction, it cannot be cured also. Okay? So in other words, kahit po i-raise namin to ngayon, after even 50 years from now, it will be valid pa rin yung aming argument because jurisdiction yung nire-raise naming issue. Okay? Second, the Supreme Court has also ruled repeatedly that no amount of vote can cure lack of qualification. So in other words, kung hindi ka nag-satisfy sa batas as regards dun sa requirement ng registration, kahit unanimously iboto ka pa ng lahat ng Pilipino sa balat ng lupa, it will not cure the fact na hindi ka registered. In other words, hindi ka kandidato. So in other words, kung hindi ka kandidato, dapat lahat ng boto na makuha mo, they are all treated under the law as stray. Okay? So yun po yung effect nun.
Okay, ito na may next question. Bakit tumagal ng ganyan? Kaninong pagkakulang ang ano? Sino may pagkakulang dyan?
Well, I think we have to consider the fact na it was the political reality of the time when we filed it is that ang sitting president at the time was still President Duterte, and he was intimately connected with Duterte Youth. So I don't know what the effect of that, but siguro the mere fact na yung nakaupong presidente is kumbaga mga bata niya to, we cannot neglect the fact that the possibility na baka may in a way masasabi natin na I don't want to say may influence, but siguro may effect po. Because complicated ang situation ng COMELEC at the time, because pag ni-rule niya kami, 'di ba? Pag ni-rule niya ang case namin in favor of us, matatanggal ang Duterte Youth, hindi sila makakaupo. So of course that has implication. For example, COMELEC kasi at the end of the day, it's a government agency, dadaan yung budget nila sa Kongreso, which at the time controlled the Presidente. So it was so complicated in terms of the position of the COMELEC. And at the same time, hindi niya naman pwedeng i-dismiss yung petition namin on the ground na sila mismo magsasabi na hindi required yung publication. So it's like saying na wag na nating i-apply yung batas sa Duterte Youth, which is also an impossible option on the part of the COMELEC.
Sa proseso ba ng COMELEC, meron ba silang parang prescription period as to how long they can decide a particular petition? For instance, in this case.
Well, meron actually, may certain period to decide under the 1993 COMELEC Rules of Procedure. However, the Supreme Court has already ruled na discretionary yung non-mandatory ang period na nakalagay doon. So in other words, notwithstanding the fact na hindi na decided ng COMELEC for that long, it does not mean na nawawalan po siya ng jurisdiction as regards the issue that we raised po.
So ang point ko, kung hindi siya required, no? Ibig sabihin, pwede rin i-dribble ng COMELEC ito. Pwedeng hindi siya mag-decide dito.
Well, technically, hindi pwedeng, technically speaking, hindi pwede niyang gawin yon, but at the same time, we also have recourse, for example, on the part of the petitioners, na kung sobrang haba, then, di ba, ang katulad nung ginawa dun sa isang case, I think yung Digamo case, If someone went up to the Supreme Court to file a petition for mandamus to compel COMELEC to decide the case, it's also an option na available sa amin. But I think what we appreciate with the current leadership of the COMELEC is that they recognize the importance of this issue, not only because, number one, ito po yung dinedemand ng taong bayan, because I think you've seen the reaction and the comment ng taong bayan. It would appear na unanimous yung taong bayan regardless of party lines. Iisa yung sentimento na dapat matanggal na yung Duterte Youth because nga hindi sila registered. Yung pangalawa, from the point of view of law, COMELEC is given this very special opportunity actually to undo at saka to make improvement doon sa proseso ng party list registration, which apparently was, kumbaga, nagkaroon po ng lapses doon sa parte ng Duterte Youth.
Okay, now speaking of Duterte Youth, no, ito rin naman yung issue sa kanila ever since talaga bang tumatalima sila sa spirit ng party list system natin? Kung nakakita ka ng isang grupo na that claims to represent the youth, but in reality, very hyper-partisan in favor of a particular politician or political figure, in this case, Rodrigo Duterte. Is there a problem with that?
Well, my problem is because when they registered, they did not register as a political party. They registered as a sectoral group. So, magkaiba kasi yun eh. Kung if you register as a political party, then you can fight all day and all night long regarding a political ideology, and you know, pwede nilang ipaglaban yung nire-represent na ideology ni Presidente Duterte. However, they registered as a sectoral organization supposedly representing the youth. So in other words, what we're looking, ano ang ina-expect ng taong bayan sa kanila, if you are representing the youth, dapat yung advocacy nila at saka yung causes ng youth ang pinaglalaban, hindi yung pamumulitika at saka yung in fact yung anti-communist stance daw nila, or even actively engaging in red tagging. In fact, the other case that became the reason for their suspension is actually in relation to red tagging na final po ng NUPL. So yung amin lang is, kaya nga sabi namin dito, even if mariman ng COMELEC back sa division yung kaso, and magkaroon ng continuation sa publication and even sa public hearing, they will not pass it anyway because the track record would show na never naman sila nag-promote or nakipaglaban doon sa advokasya ng kabataan. In fact, ang dami-daming, as mentioned nga kanina, ni Attorney Cortez of NUPL in my other interview, sa dami-dami ng batas na pwede niyang ipaglaban ng kabataan, wala siyang ginawa ni isa, even yung pag-cut ng budget ng mga state universities, ng mga eskwelahan, wala sinabi. So, nakaka-apekto sa kabataan, yet they did nothing exactly because they never advocated doon sa causes ng kabataan na supposedly nire-represent nila.
Yung ganyan ba pwede siyang erase against the Duterte Youth eventually? Kasi parang tama lang naman na i-audit yung performance ng isang sectoral group na nagkiklaim na nagre-represent ng kabataan kung hindi naman yun yung ginagawa mo consistently while in office.
Well, if they seek to re-register again, if in case na manalo kami dito sa kaso namin, then ang mangyayari niyan is they'll file a register. They need to register again, or perhaps another possibility, another track na pwede gawin ng COMELEC dito is to simply remand the case for the future election. But for the meantime, hindi muna sila makakaupo for this election, but they can run again the moment maayos nila yung registration nila. They can run again in 2028. But we're very confident that even if they do that, they have to go through publication, they have to go through the hearing process. Nonetheless, they cannot prove their track record because remember, under RA 7941, one of the very important requirement na ina-impose ng batas is dapat po mapatunayan ng grupo yung track record nila in promoting the causes of the sector which they seek to represent. So in this case, dapat they have the track record in fighting for the causes of the youth. So yun po yung 0 ang score ng Duterte Youth doon. So hindi ko alam kung paano nila mapapatunayan yan.
Meron bang information na from the COMELEC kung kailan nila decision na nito? Kasi ngayon, di ba, suspended yung proclamation?
Well, sa amin naman, nakikibalita rin lang naman kami sa media, and what we've heard, as stated kanina ni Attorney Rex Laudianco of the COMELEC, is that the current leadership of the COMELEC wants to decide all of these cases before June 30, which is the assumption ng office po ng lahat ng nanalo dito sa party list elections.
Okay. Sige, puntahan naman natin itong isang issue. No? Gusto ko tanongin dito, Attorney Emil, dahil si Attorney Emil po ay isang batikang election lawyer. Ito, marami nagtatanong dito sa kaso ni former President Rodrigo Duterte na kahit nakakulong dyan po sa The Hague, sa ICC, ay nanalo via landslide sa mayoral race dyan po sa Davao City. Ang tanong, pwede ba siya makapanumpa while in detention? And number two, can he serve as mayor while in detention?
Well, unang-una, I think may requirement yan sa assumption, and one of them is yung pag-take ng oath at saka yung pag-assume ng office. So requirement po yan sa ilalim ng batas. I don't know kung paano niya ma-execute yan while in prison sa The Hague, because hindi naman yan, wala naman access sa telepono, wala naman access sa any communication to the outside world. And then how can you assume office, for example, from outside of the jurisdiction of the Philippines? So andun ka sa The Hague. And we have to take note that under Section 11 po of the Omnibus Election Code, yung failure to take his oath or even to assume within 6 months from June 30, that would render the position as vacant. So in other words po, doon na po mag-a-apply yung rule on succession natin sa office of the mayor.
Pwede bang gawin yung pumunta kunwari payagan, the consul ng Philippine Embassy, pwedeng pumunta kunwari sa piitan kung sakaling payagan, pwede makapanumpa?
Well, this is an extraordinary na circumstances, no, because this has never happened before. But it's a possibility that they can take advantage of. But of course, subject pa rin doon sa magke-question kung whether acceptable ba yan as a way to assume yung office na panalunan niya. So they can take that option, but of course subject to the opposition or objections by other parties. Because nga yung main issue dyan is ibang usapan yung kung nakulong ka sa Pilipinas, di ba? And you're still temporarily deprived of your liberty. So technically, hindi ka pa naman deprived ng rights mo, ng political rights mo, but at least nasa Pilipinas ka within the jurisdiction of the Philippines. But ibang usapan yun kung nasa ibang bansa ka. So it's still a gray area which President Duterte can take advantage of.
Pwede rin ba yung kasi anak naman niya vice president, tapos marami siyang kaalyadong senador, di ba pwede naman silang bumisita sa kanya, kunwari bilang anak, tapos manumpa siya dun sa kulungan kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pwede ba yun?
Well, the question lang doon is whether yung authority to swear ng Vice President actually is also extraterritorial in character. Ibig sabihin, kahit outside of the Philippines ba, may power pa rin siya doon? Or is it something limited within the Philippines? And for example, yung embassies abroad, which is actually the extension of our Philippine territory. So ibang usapan yung kung The Hague because it's no longer within the Philippine territory. So the question doon, yung power ba ng Vice President extends even to jurisdictions outside of the Philippines. So it's also a legal question that is ripe for determination by the courts later on.
So mukhang mas feasible kung siya yung pupunta sa Philippine Embassy sa the Netherlands kung papayagan.
Kung papayagan, which of course we all know naman na it's not a valid ground for him to simply walk out of The Hague doon sa presuhan at saka mamanumpa doon sa embassy. It's not a special privilege. In fact, let's remember na halos lahat po ng nakukulong sa ICC are actually leaders at saka yung mga high-ranking officials sa mga different countries, and we have not heard of any situation where they were allowed actually to do that.
Ngayon, kung sakaling hindi siya makapanumpa, so paki-explain nga yung proseso, yung options. So, ano mangyayari dun sa upuan na kanyang napanalunan?
Well, ang rule naman dyan is magkakaroon ang sabi nga sa Omnibus Election Code, merong vacancy yan. If you cannot assume or take an oath within 6 months, declared vacant yan. And the moment maging vacant yan, then you apply the provisions of the local government code na pag nagkaroon ng vacancy, then the vice mayor would take over.
Hindi ba option yung kung sino yung pumangalawa doon sa election, yun yung magte-take over?
As a general rule sa election law natin, hindi natin pinapaupo yung natalo na kandidato. So it's always the as a general rule, succession po yan. So the only exception na nakakaupo yung natalo is in cancellation cases because technically the winning candidate is not a candidate. So therefore the loser is technically not the second placer but the first placer. So yun yung explanation ng Supreme Court. But the main rule in our jurisdiction is that never natin po pinapaupo yung natalo. But very interesting po yan because remember, pag the moment na mag-refuse ka or hindi ka makapag-assume ng office, there are many administrative cases na pwedeng i-file sa'yo. And quite interesting na may jurisdiction dyan is the Office of the President, especially for Davao City, which is a highly urbanized city. So technically, pag kunwari, kahit sabihin mo na nakapag-oath siya, nakapag-assume siya, pwede makasuhan niya ng habitual absenteeism or such other administrative case, and then eventually, the President will decide on whether or not i-dismiss or hindi yung isang mayor. So balik po sa Malacanang yung move. And of course, the moment mangyari po yan, of course, the rules on succession would also apply.
Okay. So si Vice Mayor Baste Duterte pa rin.
That is correct po.
So ang silver lining sa mga Duterte, dahil hawak naman nila yung buong Davao City, hindi man makaupo yung tatay, Duterte pa rin. Ganun yun.
Yes po, yun po yung rules natin, succession in terms in cases of vacancy doon sa position of mayor po.
Okay. Attorney Emil, maraming salamat for joining us tonight. Thank you for explaining all these things, and aabangan po namin yung magiging desisyon ng COMELEC diyan po sa petition laban sa Duterte Youth. In the meantime, magandang gabi sa iyo.
Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Good night po.
Yan po si Attorney Emil Maranyon. Nakausap po natin. Okay, tatanggalin ko lang muna yung pangalan. Ayan. Okay, thank you very much sa ating panauhin ngayong gabi. Ayan, no? So maganda ang tabayanan po yung magiging desisyon ng COMELEC dyan. And of course, dumulog po sa Korte Suprema itong Duterte Youth. Laban nga dito sa desisyon ng COMELEC na ihinto yung kanilang proclamation. Very, very interesting case. Naalala ko, no? Kasi nung 2019, na-interview ko na yun si Attorney Emil regarding dito sa Duterte Youth. No? Pero syempre, pagdating ng araw, mas maganda talaga kung magkaroon ng public pressure sa ating mga legislators para linisin talaga itong ating party list system na talagang matagal na po nababalahura ng mga iba't ibang interest. No? Vocal naman tayo dito. Matagal na po natin pinag-uusapan kung paano po hinijack na ng mga malalaking political clans, 'di ba? To name a few, 'di ba? Itong ating party list system. Anyway, una pa lang po itong episode natin para ngayong gabi. Meron po tayong isa. In the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Christian Esquera.